From the dawn of history, mankind has revealed an unconquerable urge to improve his lot. Along with his requirements of food and shelter have been the deep-rooted desires to reduce drudgery and to move freely beyond the horizons of his limited domain. Time and space have always presented their challenge. Man early recognized that energy must be found, harnessed, and properly applied to help him. This story is no different from the trillion-dollar race for general intelligence we're living through today. And at the heart of that race is energy. Access to it will make or break any chance of winning. To understand how energy shapes this race, here are highlights from 3 key interviews on the topic, dating back to August 2024. You can find links to the full interviews on our profile page. Thanks for watching, listening, or even accidentally clicking.
Let's take energy. And so the first thing to realize that before you can use AI, you have to teach an AI. This is no different than before you can use an actual intelligence, you have to teach the actual intelligence. And so the teaching process consumes a lot of energy. And the reason why it consumes a lot of energy is that the artificial intelligence network, through trial and error, is trying to figure out how to predict something. And it's recognizing patterns and relationship among tons and tons of information. And from all of that data, it finds out what's the relationship and the pattern such that it can learn a knowledge out of it. We call it representations. And so you're trying to discover knowledge out of data. And you're just swimming in it, processing it repeatedly, looking for that pattern of relationships. Eventually, you've learned the knowledge that's embedded inside. You've learned all these different relationships that when you're presented with some future patterns, you could understand it. You could even predict it. Okay? And so that's the goal. These data centers could consume today maybe 100 megawatts, and in the future it'll probably be several, 10 times, 20 times more than that.
Yeah, I think things are currently chip limited, or they're not quite chip limited. They're going to get to the point where they're limited by voltage transformers and installation, and they will become limited by energy. So there will be a tremendous amount of energy that's needed for digital intelligence and also for electrification of transport. So those 2 things are a big deal. Yeah, we're gonna need a lot of energy.
So do you think AI and the related kinds of things that will come about because of that are going to force our energy system to produce more energy that is really good, than is good for the environment? Or are you worried about the ability to keep up with the energy demands that tech is producing?
Electricity demand is this tension between rising efficiencies on one side and rising GDP on the other, right? And so for the kind of past 15 years, from the mid-2000s to about 2022 in the United States, those very much canceled themselves out, and you saw flat electricity demand. But that's all changing. It started in 2022, and I think there were 3 issues. One was this growth in data center that's largely being driven by AI. Second is the reshoring of manufacturing, and the third is the electrification of everything, and so thinking about EVs. And so that's putting real strain on the system with this increase in load growth. And that's now combined with this next tranche of intermittent resource coming on, the wind and solar coming onto the system, and utilities having to try to balance those resources. They're also being asked to decrease emissions in general. And then fourth, there's a lot of pressure on affordability today with all the pressure from inflation. And so I've said that a utility could do, of those 4, which they're being faced with all 4 of them, almost every utility in America today, they could do 1 or 2 very easily. I think they could probably do 3. Trying to do all 4 at the same time and maintain this grid and maintain the reliability and affordability that Americans demand is enormously challenging.